The next lecture, we will be implementing the builder pattern. Typically, a builder pattern will have a builder interface or abstract class. Then the builder class will implement that interface or abstract class and provide various methods that are required to build a particular object. Here you see product. So this product is the end class of which the instance will be created by the concrete builder implementation, and it provides various methods that the client, who is the director, these are all just the terms that are used when we talk about builder pattern, but you don't see all of them in all the use cases or implementations. The implementation can be slightly different. So the main key here is we need to have a builder class that will make it easy for the end clients to create an instance of the object just by configuring or setting the properties they need, and they can leave the rest. There are multiple ways to implement this, as I have already mentioned. The way we are going to do this is very simple. Within the HTTP client, the class of which we want to create the instance of, while initializing these variables depending on the client's requirements, we'll create a public static class. So we'll have a public static inner class. Within the class of which we need to create an instance, we are going to call it HTTP client builder. In this case, the object we are creating is of class HTTP client. So this builder is HTTP client builder. This guy will have a copy of all the properties which the actual class has, of which instance we are going to create. And then for each of the properties we want to initialize, or for some of the properties together, we are going to have methods. See this method? This method will initialize the method property that is passed in. And each of these methods will return the instance of the same class. So when we test this class, when we start using the builder pattern, this is how the code will look like. New HTTP client builder dot method. On that method, we invoke dot URLs. This is much more readable and easy as a developer. Dot body. The reason we are able to invoke it like this is because each of these methods, method, URL, body, etc., return the instance back so that they can be chained like this. So first you create a public static class. You make a copy of whatever properties you have on the actual class. Then you implement methods which will take just the required parameters. If somebody wants to use the HTTP method, they will use this method. If they want to URL, then they will use that. If they want to use security, then they will invoke this method with the username and password. Look at the name of the method. It is called secure. That is the reason the code becomes much more readable. HTTP client dot method dot URL dot body dot secure and so on. So as we implement these methods, the last method that we implement is the build method. This guy is different from the other methods. This will return a new HTTP client, and it passes this, the client builder itself, to the constructor of the HTTP client. And the constructor here will copy over all the properties that a particular user has set from the builder into the HTTP client. To quickly summarize, you're going to create a public static inner class called HTTP builder. This guy will have a copy of all the properties which are also present on the client class itself, of which we are going to create the instance. And we'll start initializing those properties through various methods like method, URL, secure, headers, body, etc. And at the end, you have a build method where the properties which are initialized on the builder class will be copied over onto a new instance of HTTP client that is created. The end users need not use the ugly constructor. They'll be able to invoke various methods like this to initialize on the builder, and at the end they will say dot build. When they say dot build, that is when the instantiation of HTTP client happens with all the properties they have set, and they can ignore a few which they don't want to set. They will not invoke those methods.